What's going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, the Leo King, here on Deep Astrology, your weekly astrology horoscope for the week of May the 19th through the 25th of 2020, exclusively brought to you by HighVibe.tv, the awesome spiritual network that I broadcast this show and all of my other daily, weekly, sun sign, daily horoscopes, all about really bringing out the high vibes in people and really understanding what's going on. And these are such crazy times. We have our own apps and, of course, website. Become a member. Of course, if you are a member, you get this show full in its complete form. You get the charts and you get the beginning where I channel horoscopes. If you're on YouTube, of course, it always is this show for free. But, you know, when it does come to the charts, I just keep the audio for you out there. And you're definitely going to want to check out HighVibe.tv because my 2020 What's Next horoscope. It's a 3.5-hour horoscope all about what's next. Of course, you can watch here on YouTube, or if you're on HighVibe, I've got my predictions from the 3 years prior of what was 2020 to be about. And I was really all about what you were going to feel at the beginning. So this video goes into, when we recorded it, I think it was April 24th we recorded it, from April 24th until the end of this year. And it's just about major predictions about this year. I go into everything that we're talking about right now in the world to all the crazy predictions that I like to make. So make sure that you check it out and definitely get it. And if you've never watched the show before, this is where I'm going to channel the astrology, and then I am going to break it down into the charts to you, brought to you by Astrology, which is on iOS, Android, and any of your Mac devices. But if you happen to be on PC, make sure that you check out Solar Fire. Tons of awesome stuff going on over there with esoteric technologies. Anyway, this is the Gemini week. I'm telling you, it is a week to remember. There is so much going on because this is so much Gemini coming in, and it's so ironic with this new moon that's going to be happening in Gemini. It's all happening on Friday. We got the sun literally on Wednesday coming into Gemini, and there is so much I have to talk about today. I know I already feel like I'm a Gemini just energetically, but it is so much going to happen. It's a new moon, number one, so let's just start with the basics. And this one's happening in Gemini, and the North Node's in Gemini. Now it's ironic because 8 years ago, at this exact time, this is when we had a Venus retrograde in Gemini, like we have right now, and we had a solar eclipse new moon around this area. But the South Node was in Gemini. Now we have the North Node. So there is a lot about the last 8 years clearing out the karma of your life from the time that you were living your life in the end of May into June of 2012. And this is a major, major new moon with the trine to Saturn in Aquarius. I think it's wonderful because this new moon really is going to help us propel, I would say, forward in a radical way. It's just going to be like, what in the heck? It's like the flip of a coin in life. But I would say that it's going to be much more in our own personal environments. I think it's going to be a lot having to do, of course, with relationships. Mercury, the fastest planet in the zodiac, is in its home sign of Gemini. It is going so fast, and guess what? It meets exactly with Venus retrograde on the moment of this new moon that's going to happen Friday. And it's an exact square, of course, to Neptune. Venus retrograde, still in square to Neptune, Mercury square to Neptune. So there is this trying to figure out, I would say, this really weird vibe since Venus did go retrograde on the 13th. Like, what has been going on about these relationships, our money and our projects, and especially with a dark moon in Taurus to boot that's going to be on Wednesday and Thursday, there's something to say about these things that make us feel good, these relationships, money situations. And this is where you can't kind of freak out, because I do want to say that when it comes to the mental health of the collective, the mental health of individuals, we have to pay attention to it. A Mercury square Neptune is not easy when it's in its home sign of both signs, right? Neptune is in Pisces and Mercury is in Gemini, and they're both in their home signs. And with Venus retrograde making a square over to Neptune, this brings out a lot when it comes to your mental health and trying to process things, and especially when you just step into the sun in Gemini and then a new moon following after. We're getting Gemini energy right away. Sometimes, you know, the sun will come into a sign and then it will take a while for that new moon to hit. And so it's almost like we don't really get the full capacity of the sign until that lunar cycle completes and we start a new cycle in that sign. Well, guess what? We're getting Gemini all this week. We're getting it with Mercury on top of Venus, and Venus has been stopped, right? Venus went stationary retrograde in the 13th, and it's just been stationary retrograde, but just not moving at all at 21 degrees of Gemini. And this week it finally breaks away from its position, and we start to see it get off the square to Neptune. But this new moon is going to be heightened. It's about new stories for us. It's going to be about new environments, and it's going to be the flip of a switch so fast, especially with that dark moon that's going to be in Taurus, in connection with Uranus. In Taurus, this is definitely going to just switch the paradigm really fast. And also be like, what baggage am I holding on to that I don't need to hold on to anymore? And be like, I'm done with that. Like, remember that Gemini is light. It is fun. It's exciting. But you know, there's stability here, believe it or not, even though it is such a radical and crazy sign. But it is this Saturn in Aquarius that we're going to talk about. It is this Neptune square Mercury Venus that we're going to be talking about today. But there's a lot more. There's a lot more. Don't worry. You know me, I like to come with as much as I can. We got Mars as well, also in Pisces, right? So kind of a weird place for Mars to be. Mars is, you know, definitely the one that wants to define things and be a cardinal energy and move forward in life. And here it is in Pisces where it's the most mutable water, like, whoa, it's like a submarine, or, you know, you could be on a cool catamaran just going out there in the middle of nowhere in the ocean. But, you know, this is kind of this weird space for Mars, but Mars is getting some help this week. Mars is going to get help from Uranus this weekend, where Mars and Uranus make a nice sextile. So this adds to the whole element, especially since Mars is going to make its 60-degree angle to Uranus in Taurus when the new moon cycle has already started. So we are going to see a major radical shift and major connections about people. There's going to be a lot of interactions with people. It's almost going to feel a little bit like, especially if you just take the world today and where we've been, like, what the heck? People are back in life? And I'm not saying that it has to be in kind of the way that, you know, people might think I'm saying or whatever, but you're just going to notice people are popping back out of nowhere in your life. Whether it's through the phone, whether it's through email, whether it's in real life, it's just going to be like, what the heck happened? A light switch is going to turn on. And with Saturn, especially in Aquarius, right? This is extreme because it is about people. It is about our forward movement. It is about our future, but it's a Saturn station retro. So it's like, even though there's stability, it's this internalization of, okay, where is my future going? Where is my connections? Where's my tribe? Where are the things that just don't make sense anymore in my life that I can't fix? Because one thing I do want to say, you cannot use this energy with a Venus retrograde square Neptune, and even more important than that, having Saturn in Aquarius retrograde trine this new moon, and just trying to fix broken things. Like, I just really, you know, sure, I fix little broken things here on set all the time, but then there's just times where it's like, gosh, I gotta get the new thing, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not gonna work. And I know I've been saying that we kind of live in a duct tape world. I do feel, though, that there are some things that duct tape cannot fix. And I think that this is going to be one of those big reminders. Because Saturn wants stability, but it also wants choices to be made. It also wants to make sure that we do step forward with a plan of action. And so this is about planning your environment, your life, and what you want to be stimulated with, what's on your mind. And especially that is a little bit hard with Neptune square Venus in retrograde and Neptune square Mercury when they're going to conjunct on the new moon. And just having all this Gemini energy with the North Node is just going to change the paradigm to Hermes world. Like, this is literally actually where the mother of Hermes was in Gemini, the Pleiades. There's all this Palladian energy coming in. And I already know some of the astrologers out there and some of the people in the spiritual community might not be all into starseed stuff or might not be into the Pleiades, but I'm here to tell you, and I was one of those people, you can go check my blog on theleoking.com, that when this eclipse cycle happened 8 years ago with a Venus retrograde, and it was also a Venus eclipse, remember, that was coming in at these times, it was the whole activation point of the 2012 whole Mayan calendar system. It really was that 6 months after that till we got to December 21st that we just saw that 6 months changing your whole entire life and your environment to get you to 2020 at that point of this new Earth. And I do want to say that this might sound crazy, but especially since we aren't going to be now in Gemini, it's going to feel more of a split when it comes to the collective. It's going to feel like there's just two sides of the aisle in every way of life now. And so I know that there's going to be this want to try and find the unification and try and find that fixing energy. But you know what? Instead of us, I think, overbearing ourselves right now, this is about us just aligning with what makes sense in our life right now instead of trying to go against the grain in so many crazy ways. Usually, me, I love going against the grain. That's my whole life story. And that's the way that I love to deliver my astrology. But I'm not going to, push any of my own beliefs on you, especially with the South Node still here in Sag for the next 18 months. We got to get out of this kind of, over hopeful or, one of those things where it's just creating this opinionated story of life and you should be this way and that. Yeah, no. This is where we got to be in Gemini and just be what is the environment that makes sense for me? What are the people? Mars, sextile Uranus. We got Mercury on top of a Venus retrograde, and it's fast. Mercury is flying. So it's I was actually saying today on one of my readings, it was this. It was Mercury is going so fast, okay, almost 2 degrees a day. And Venus is stopped at 20 minutes a day in geometry, meaning just Venus is not doing anything. So imagine this bullet just flying through a car. Okay, it's whoa, it's a lot. And so it's coming in fast. Hermes has got a message from the gods. That's what Hermes is. So there's some sort of message about what to change in life. We're going to see a message from the universe. Almost and with Neptune square, is it a message in a bottle? I don't want to get all police or sting on everybody, but is it a message in a bottle that we are getting from spirit, from our intuition, that we are about to finally understand? There is something to say that, yes, Taurus is great, but we have Uranus there. So there is something about this kind of weird energy that's been hard to it's like a code to try and decipher, It feels like the Da Vinci Code at the very end where they're deciphering how to get there. And if you mess up the code, all the ink will spill and you won't get the map, you won't get the whole understanding. So there is something to say about this Gemini energy being I am figuring out the things that make sense, that work for me, and the things that don't, what's the point about that? We need to focus on the point. What is the area in life that we are pointed towards? What is the area in life that we are focused on that we can really make change in our reality? And we've got to think about what's best in the reality that just surrounds us. I think if we get too caught up on everybody else in the world right now, and I'm not talking from a collective standpoint, but I'm saying from an individual standpoint, stop checking things about what's going on in another country and what's over here. I mean, it's nice for reflection, but the main thing about Gemini is what's up in your reality? What's up in your life? Start finding the twin-like energies around you because those twins bring out the end of the spring, right? That's the whole, understanding of the twins of whether you want to call it the two animals that run into the happiness of the spring flowers and, the conversations, and you start to hear all the birds sing in the morning. And now we start to see all this energy right before we come to the solstice. I also do want to remind people that this new moon that is happening now brings us into eclipse time because guess what? 2 weeks from this new moon is going to be a 3-set eclipse cycle. So that means we're going to have a lunar, a solar, and a lunar. And so we're going to have this next full moon 2 weeks from now, which will be a lunar eclipse. So we have to be prepared now, and we got to be smart, and we got to focus, and we got to get to the point of things of what makes sense for us, what changes we want to make, and having the best reality that we want. Jupiter and Pluto are not messing around. They're still in Capricorn, and there's no more South Node in Capricorn, and they're in retrograde. So this explosion, this change, this radical intensity about what's the best door for the best path in your life, you've got to pay attention to. This is time for us to get those changes in our environment, make those decisions with that Trine to Saturn in Aquarius about our future and make the best one possible. And we need to trust in the collective that everybody around the world is making those choices in their own individual lives. And that's how we need to trust the collective more instead of thinking am I seeing this other person doing it? Or we need to trust that the collective is figuring things out individually. That is one of the tests here. And especially with the Mars, even though it is in Pisces, it is sextile to Uranus. There is something to say about us. Let's just focus on where we're spiritually getting guided, this message in a bottle. And I'm saying that because that message in a bottle is very, the bottle that floats in the ocean with a message in it. It's very Gemini Pisces. But the whole idea of that mental, whether it's mental health or just kind of losing the mind a little bit, is when you're not following your intuition, is when you deny yourself, you block yourself from where spirit is guiding you right now. Or you're afraid to just be honest with yourself and just be like, this is what the facts say, this is what the truth says. And that truth, of course, it gets very weird, because whenever you get these nodes like this, especially in Gemini and Sag, and especially with the North node of Gemini and the South node of Sag, it's hard to know what the truth is because opinions come in or beliefs, and we're dealing in a time when beliefs are being eradicated with Pluto in Capricorn, and these are old belief systems, very old, because we have not seen Pluto and Jupiter in a conjunction here in Capricorn in all of our lives. We haven't even seen it for hundreds of years. Like, there's no way to have, and especially with Saturn that's on its retrograde back into Capricorn, we haven't seen it since 1284. So I'm just here to tell you that this is a long 700 plus year cycle of beliefs that are ending. And so this is these moral codes I keep talking about. That everybody can't use the moral codes anymore of this kind of ethical understanding that goes back 700 some odd years and not create the truth, not create the life that you want to live. It's not going to happen that way. It really is just you having to really step forward now into trusting that spirit and this message to you is giving you that truth, and that's where this split of the collective is going to happen. Because with Neptune being in Pisces at 20 degrees, this is exactly where it was during the 1692 witch trials. This is exactly where we started to see the craziness of the 1856 election, where Pierce lost as the president of the United States. Pierce lost his ability to run as president, even though he was president, at the Democratic Convention, okay? And it split the whole entire Democratic Party, but actually just brought everybody to where they wanted to go with Buchanan. It was the end of the Whig Party at that time. It was a major radical invisible divide in America that created the beginnings of the secession. So I'm just here to prepare people that this is not your average week. This is not just, oh, it's Gemini, it's going to be more communicative, and it's going to be just like, no, this is serious activation. And it's activation about what not only goes back to the Jupiter-Pluto stuff that with Saturn especially, that goes back to 1284, or we could even take a look at it from another standpoint of, like, I would say the biggest one is the Venus eclipse cycle that was to the 2004 and 2012. Those are done. And so now we're here in this Venus and Gemini without it's not going to have an eclipse to the sun. We're not going to be able to see Venus past the sun. So this is going to be kind of crazy because it goes back into the true form of where Venus goes into the darkness, right? And I'm just here to tell you, you can watch Venus, especially you're going to see it go much faster. Now it's going to be harder to see and more faint. It's losing its brightness as it's going down the horizon. We were able to see Mercury when it was kind of far from Venus, but it's going so fast now that it was nice to see Mercury there. I had some cool shots from some peeps that sent me some cool pictures of it, and I went and looked out at it the other night. But I'm just here to tell you, Mercury's flying so fast, you know, it was cool to see Mercury and Venus, but we're about to lose Venus, okay? And when you lose Venus in the inferior conjunction point, there's a great article on ISAR, who I'm a part of. You know what? I should have said who the astrologer is. I got the email just recently, but man, there's something to say about the research that was done on ISAR from another ISTAR astrologer. I wish I knew the person. I want to give him credit. That all these inferior conjunction points, which we're going to see on June 3rd, especially the Venus-Sun ones, of course, like this is what brings on a lot of these crazy moments that we're seeing in the world. I don't even want to say the word. You know what's been going around, right? These things all happen with these inferior conjunction points. So I'm just here to prepare people that this change in life, this split in the collective, this you getting to the point of the reality that makes sense for your future and you having to pinpoint it. It's a needle, not in a haystack. It's a needle and you have it in your hand, but you're throwing it in the haystack every day because you are too afraid to just pinpoint what you know in your mind and what the message in a bottle says to do from spirit. It's like very crystal clear But I just, we're all with that Neptunian energy. And Aleister Crowley, who I know is definitely not one that a lot of people like to talk about, but I do have one of his books, and it's one of Jeff Jowers' books, and I just want to give Jeff Jowers some love. I know he passed years ago now, but, he was a Taurus too. But I have one of his books, and it's an Aleister Crowley one of Neptune and Uranus, and the interesting stuff that was written at the end of the 1800s by Aleister Crowley about Neptune is just so overwhelming as far as like how accurate depiction of how Neptune can be in a very intense, kind of more deceptive way, of course. And I like to say it's like if you were out in outer space and you were just like, oh my gosh, I'm thirsty. Oh, look at Neptune. Look at a planet of water. And you'd be like, oh, and I could go take a swim. And you got all the way there, and it's all the way out there, and it's all by itself, and it has its back to the sun. Aleister Crowley said that in his writings, and I really like kind of actually, it makes sense to me. That it's like looking to that epic future, but it almost is that feeling like it, we create these dreams, these fantasies in many ways that don't become true sometimes in our life. And I think that's where we have to tap into our intuition more and truly know, that it looks like water, but it's not. When you get to Neptune, you're going to go drink the water and go take a bath in toxic gas? Like, no, you're not. Like, get out of here. It was even interesting in, I think it was Ad Astra, which is with Brad Pitt. They go to Neptune in that one, and some of the scenes there and the weirdness that went on around that Neptune, energy was weird. And so I just want to let you all know that there's this weirdness that's still the undercurrent, and it's a split in the collective, that there's a true realization that right before I go to the charts, I want to tell you this. Dolores Cannon was very right about the splitting of Earths. I like to just call it, there's the new Earth and the old Earth, and there's this spiritual divide of people kind of going on to it. And there's things that this, let's just say, old Earth is trying to do to keep people on the old Earth. And I'm just trying to tell you that you have to see the message from the bottom, from Spirit. If you already haven't got it, let's be honest, it's been out there for ages, this message from the Mayans to so many astrologers have been helping people to try and understand this for so long. But it's like there's this new Earth, there's this great vibration, there's this beautiful place. But if you're going to be stuck and afraid for change in your idea, because our mind can lock us away like a prison. And I don't want people to be locked away in their mental prisons. I don't want people to get lost in their mind and their beliefs. Remember, Jupiter's retrograde in Capricorn is fall position, and we have the South Node in Sag. So don't believe everything that you read or you see. Make sure that you have fact-checked it yourself. Make sure that you know that the source that you're getting your information from is true, that it has everything there. There's a lot of deception going on right now on the planet. And that's why, and you can go watch it, it's free on YouTube, Age of Deception, the Leo King. In 2016, I did a whole entire 5.5-hour presentation about this age of deception we're in. We're in a very deceiving time. And I just want to tell people that this is where you can see through that and go towards that better part. And you can look up Dolores Cannon's work. You can look up a lot of things about the splitting of the earth. And this stuff really started in 2012. And that's why I think that this week is more powerful than people realize in the karmic spiritual levels than they even can, maybe even some people might be able to comprehend. Because as I'm going to show you in the charts, I want you to go back to this time. I want you to see how powerful the impact was in your life. And let's see if you're ready for that impact times 10,000 kajillion. Although that's very sad. Let's just say 1,000 times more extreme will impact you this week. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, so it's pretty extreme. To be honest with you, I'm excited, although there's something to say about Gemini energy, right? Where it's like with Neptune squares and stuff, like is it really okay? Like, are you okay, dude? Like, are you sure you're excited about this time? It's like, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited because I know what's possible right now. I know what's truly true. I mean, that's the whole thing, is like this whole idea of truth is very weird. Just for the fact that the nodes are in Gemini and Sag and Neptune is in Pisces, like it was in 2012, we all knew for some reason, because it was a North Node in Sag, we all knew this is the spiritual quest. This is where to go in life. Now people are like, I don't know if that's real. Maybe this thing's real, and maybe, right? Like, it's like, okay, everything that keeps coming out, let's just be honest with you, just keeps showing this underbelly of what the heck. Jupiter and Pluto are helping out everybody go like, here's the truth. Here's the crockety truth from these old people that are really like fucked up. Let's just be honest. So there's a lot where it's just like, come on people. You know what I mean? Like, come on, this Gemini energy is going to be so powerful. You have no idea. It's going to blow people's minds, literally. Like, boom. And it's whether or not you're ready. And people can, and that's why I think mental health is important. If you know somebody struggling with panic attacks or anxiety right now or depression, this is where we really need it. There was great, actually from mainstream media this week, coverage about this, that it's actually way more extreme than people even realize. And so I really stress, because this Gemini stuff with this Neptune stuff with Mars and Pisces is not easy for people when they're in those states. It does feel a little manic, or it can feel the opposite. And so I just want to tell people that this is sensitive, because that truth from the universe and God is the only truth there is. We all know that. Hermes and Mercury and Gemini is about messenger of the gods, or God. All that source energy is the message, and it comes through the best friend of the sun, Hermes. And Hermes is returned home with his mom, who's one of the eldest sisters of the Pleiades. And here's Mercury flying through that space. Hi, Mom. And hi, everybody. Look at, hi, Venus retrograde. Let's go look at this. If you are not on highvibe.tv, make sure that you join so you can watch me in these charts. I got so many cool charts. I got a helio chart too for the new moon. And I am going to do just one little cards of truth thing at the end, because I did the cards of truth for the new moon. I just want to show people this can be an amazing new moon for people if you know which side of this split in the collective you're on. Let's go to the charts. So here we are, May 19th. I can't even believe we're in May already. 19th, right? And look at this, the sun finishing here in Taurus. Now, I think that this Taurus energy, of course, with the way that the world is, people kind of being on lockdowns and stuff like that, Taurus definitely has that, slower energy, and people starting to find, maybe some of the values that they had lost in their life, or qualities of life that they kind of forgot about. But it's interesting, we're in the dark moon phase here now with the moon in Taurus and the sun in Taurus, which is exactly what happened in May 19th and 20th of 2012. But there was an eclipse that was happening. We saw the same thing. And I just want to tell people, like, this is why I'm about to show you and blow your guys' minds that, like, the cycles, for some reason, the cycle of the Venus retrograde in Gemini and the cycle of the lunar nodes, right, at Gemini or Sag, which they are in, bring up this crazy repeating cycle here that is just mind-boggling mathematically, okay? Mind-boggling. And I think that this dark moon in Taurus is like, what are you holding on to with Uranus here? Like, we didn't see Uranus in Taurus back in the day in 2012. That was in Aries, and it was in square to Pluto for the first time. So it was kind of like, uh-oh, I got to make a bailout in the craziest, dark, scary way. Well, this is just you, like, what, you're afraid of heaven? You're afraid of a better life? Like, come on, it's just Uranus and Taurus. Like, eat the fruit, like, that you want and connect to it. Like, Uranus is the ruler of the skies. Like, you could be up in the high energies of the skies that will get you to this beautiful place. But are you going to be hoarding and holding on to crap you don't want to? I don't think so. Well, some people might, though. But let's see that Mercury right there. Mercury 16 degrees here as we're doing this Tuesday night. And there's that Venus at 20, right? So that Venus is exact square to that Neptune energy. And it's interesting to also see, we're going to switch the pen up color here. We'll do a little pink. Well, we'll do a little pink. That North Node, 29. But here's that Venus at 20, and it's in square to Neptune. And that's like coming exact. Right as Mercury, like I said, like a bullet, saying hi to his mom and all the 7 sisters, okay? Hermes is at home. This is why Mercury, and I would say the Hermetic element, is truly Gemini. Because of the fact that the mythology goes that the mother of Hermes is the eldest of the 7 sisters. And Mercury's home, and this is where his mom lives. And these 7 sisters, the Pleiades, represent the light. They represent the truth. That is why Gemini is a representative of the truth. And the only truth is the one that can speak to the sun, right? That can speak to the source energy. And here we have source energy moving into Gemini on Wednesday that is going to activate this truth in yourself. And I think we're going to see it really clearly in the world this week. Pretty mind-boggling stuff, actually. So let's take a look at Wednesday. So on May 20th, and it's pretty mind-boggling here to me because May 20th was when we actually saw the solar eclipse of 2012. So we're a little off by 2 days, but of course we are in a leap year. Kind of interesting stuff here when you get down to it, right? But I would say that the main thing is this dark moon. So this dark moon is going to be hanging out with Uranus, and we are going to see a Mars here that is in Pisces sextile the moon and Uranus. So it's almost like this universal aspect is trying to push us into let go emotionally of things that do not serve you in the best interest of your value systems and your true quality of life. And it's hard because it's a Venus aspect being in Taurus, right? The moon is exalted here. The moon's actually in its most exalted position in darkness. So it's stable. Remember that the sun is in Gemini here on Wednesday. Boom. 0, 0, 0, 0. And what is that doing? It's trining Saturn. So, time to make some choices about your future. Guess what? You are not going to see the sun trine Saturn in Aquarius for the rest of this year, okay? This is the only one. This is it. And it's for the new moon this week. So I'm trying to tell you, if you want the better part of Saturn, the more Aquarian, the air sign with a Gemini energy, with Mercury in its home sign, with the sun, finally, the messenger of God and that energy of source energy of God is together in the same sign. And we have this amazing Mercury-Venus conjunction happening in Venus retrograde, the first one since 1996 without it being in a freaking eclipse. Like, I'm just trying to tell, I'm just mind blown that people might not feel it because it's so dead, kind of the dark energy in Taurus. It's slow. The cow is just mooing, like what's happening in out of nowhere. Somehow we just move into these 2 twins that pop up like in Alice in Wonderland, like, and it's just like, what the heck is going on here? Boom! So, but we're getting pushed into, Mars is pushing and saying, let go. 1, it's in Pisces, let go. There's an ego issue here. 2, the moon is exalted in Taurus where it's like, I want to hold on, but it's dark. It's like, oh, it's balsamic phase. I got to let go of this last month. And what are the things that this is like taking the trash out of things that could be big too. It's Taurus. Like, you really want me to get rid of this gold piece, this relationship, this career, this situation that is not serving me anymore, even though I don't know why I'm holding it in my storage, or I don't know why I have it, but okay, if I do that, why? Because you make choices for your future to build the best future in your life during this week. And to actually start to see that world, especially as Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, and, I would say with those 3 retrogrades already, which are all in the same space, which actually you can go see, which is beautiful at night. But you have to be up a little bit past midnight. You know the Leo King's up that late. But you want to go see Jupiter, Pluto? Well, you can't see Pluto, but you want to go see Jupiter, Saturn? Oh, yeah. It is beautiful to see. And then it's so weird that we're seeing Venus fall and lose her brightness as she is falling down from being the evening star to go to be a morning star. So we're going to lose that sight of Venus here soon. And I'm just trying to remind people here, like, we want to do this shit on this new moon. This is going to be a radical, crazy time and month. We are getting ready for eclipses. 3 of them. I'm telling you, this May 20th is just do it, especially with the sun in Gemini and it's trining Saturn. Like, come on, let's make some choices. We have to step into authority and stop having this belief that you can fix things. I think that's part of the main problem, that things that don't make sense, things that you think have value, but they really don't. You know the truth. You've got the message from Spirit. It's like, don't start going into this hopeful place of, oh yeah, it'll be okay. It's like, no. You know what to pinpoint, what to do, and what will... Gemini's about excitement. You're going to bring that excitement into your life? Venus square Neptune is definitely the craziest story ever told, but it's an exciting story ever told if it's in alignment with your truth and your intuition, or it's the most, I would say, scariest ever. Not like Scorpio Halloween scary stuff, but scariest in, I am in a crazy world that is exactly the most false mirror that I ever saw. And that's scary because it's your subconscious in denial. And so I just don't want people to be living anymore in denial of truth of their self. Screw the whole world thing. This is South Node and Sag. Screw the world's whole understanding of truth at the moment. What's your version of truth? What's your version of your truth for your reality? And don't worry about what everybody else thinks, because this is a moment where people all have to be in a place where they are excited and happy, to where when the collective does come together for situations of making choices, that they are a lot easier than people who are dissatisfied and aren't happy in their truth and being like, I'm still in this bullshit. I'm still in this thing I don't want to be in. This dark moon's trying to kick that shit out because it's all bullshit. And look at this Mercury on Wednesday when the sun comes in Gemini. By the way, this is the sun ingress into Gemini chart, West Coast style. So it is going to be a 12th house sun, but West Coast. But Mercury here at 17, it is flying fast. And actually, if you take a look at this, we got Mercury here. It's fast. Look at that, plus 147. It's doing almost 2 degrees a day. And look at Venus, 17 minutes. I mean, that is fast, like, woo! And Venus is just like stopped. So it's going to go just like a bullet piercing through it. It's going to be really intense, really fast. Now, if we move on to Thursday, this is the day before the new moon. And Craig's in the background going, ew. And this new moon isn't happening yet, but it is a dark moon in Taurus, but it's supported by so many things. It kind of blows my mind. So it's like God is allowing you to be excited for good things by just dropping all this stupid crap off into the dumpster that is not serving you and burning it out of your life, because there's something to say about that Taurus energy that, especially with Uranus there, it's like just getting rid of it. And there's the purification of Taurus, especially in the exaltation degrees, which was more Wednesday, but Thursday at least there's just like support. The moon is going to support Neptune, and the moon's exalted, Neptune's in its own sign. I mean, if you want to see, look at this. And the reason why I think that people need to pay attention is here's the exaltation points of things, right? If we actually look at the essential dignities, Saturn is in plus 10. Mercury is in its home sign plus 5. The moon is plus 4, okay? Venus is even a plus 2. The sun's even a plus 1 right now. Mars, plus 0, at least it's not negative. But Jupiter is not doing well. Of course, it's in its fall position. And they don't ever do, and I don't know why. I don't know why astrologers just don't get together and just know the exaltation points and the rulers of these other placements of like the outer planets and just start scoring them out. Because like Neptune is obviously in a very major position. But long story short, the astrology is at a point to where it's like, if I know people get all weird when I say, are you going to waste this? Like, this is where it's like, I keep giving you guys the windows of like, I gave you 3 years to not waste any time. I'm like, do not waste this next 3 years till 2020 because it'd be crazy. Now I'm just telling you by week and by days of like, you want to chuck out crazy crap out of your life that is overbearing you with weight and isn't making you happy and is not valuable to you anymore? Do it now. It's easy. And it's easy to release it. You've got the support from Mars that's not in a negative position. Even though it's in Pisces, it's not. It's just like kind of equaled out because it's in support. And it's like with Neptune, and Neptune's in its own sign, and there's a lot to say about Mars right now. Just kind of chilling out, but it's like about to come into its home sign, where we'll do a long retrograde, by the way. So this is also the, let's just keep it at that too. Mars being in Pisces just by itself, that's why I love astrology. You can just take something by itself, is gonna be by the end of June in Aries, where it's gonna be there for the rest of the year. Mars will be in its home sign all the rest of the year. So this is the last ditch ever here until we come to the end of June with Mars in Pisces, and it's gonna be with all these eclipse energies starting to come, right? Like, that we need to start dumping out crap for our ego and more importantly, so we can keep moving forward in our life. Things that are just toxic from our spiritual environment, things that don't feel in spiritual alignment at all. And this moon supported, of course, by Jupiter, Pluto in darkness. So there's all this supporting energy. It's like, I don't know where else to find a negative spot. If you want to start using some weird angles that are really weird, I'll do it for you, but I'm just trying to tell you that they are nowhere near as powerful as the amazing positions that this moon in Taurus in darkness is doing. And look at this. The day before we have that new moon with the dark moon, Mercury is right there, 1 degree away from Venus, right on top pretty much. And Venus is exactly squaring Neptune and is actually past it. So that's why I think Wednesday is one of those days that you just do it. But you got the support of it through Thursday, and we just got to get prepared here for Friday, which is going to be, I would call it a whole new world, but we are in the South Node Sag, so I would say if it was a North Node Gemini, a whole new environment of excitement and crazy. Let's look at that new moon now. Woo! This is the chart, baby. This is the chart to look at. There is so much going on, I can't believe it. So here we are on the 22nd. How funny. May 22nd of 2020, and here you are, a new moon at 2 degrees with the sun at 02 and a moon at 02, and it's at 4 minutes and 4 minutes. Like, it just kind of blows my mind. It's just kind of like all these twos and all this energy and all the 4 energies that are happening this year. It's crazy. And this one is, I would say, the ultimate new moon of the year, because if you really look forward, I mean, the next new moon is on a solstice, you know, and remember Saturn's going to be coming back into Capricorn right after that, and you're not going to see, you know, Venus is going to be finishing its retrograde, and it's going to be stopped, and that's going to feel kind of and then I'm just trying to tell you that looking forward, you're not going to see as good of a vibe as this. So this new moon is in trine to Saturn, like I said, pretty much almost exact. Sure, it's just post the exact hit, but it's really well aspected. Now, Mercury is exactly on top of Venus. So this new moon, and remember that a new moon cycle lasts for the whole entire month. We got this whole month here now to really focus on a different way to look at the rebeautification of our life, of our environment. People come up, it's Saturn in Aquarius, it's a Venus in Gemini, retrograde. And Mercury's trying to figure this out in its home. Like, I can figure this stuff out, but Neptune's there, like, oh gosh, I gotta listen to intuition? Oh man. But how else does the message get to Mercury if it is the messenger of the gods? How else? So I know a lot of astrologers out there just throwing all the shade on Neptune square Venus and don't do this and don't do that and think before you do that. They're right. But they're also not bringing up that this is the only way that the divine message gets to Mercury. Sure, it might get it from his mom up there in the Pleiades. But this is a moment where Spirit can also bring in the message in its most pure form. And a square might be always, to some astrologers, a negative thing. But the negative, I would say, is the challenge presented in whether or not you're going to listen to your bullshit of your subconscious denial of the truth, or whether or not you're going to face, I'm going to just see that, and I'm going to accept that, and I know this is bullshit, and I'm going to release that, and I'm going to see what Spirit wants me to do. What does Spirit want me to say? Because Mercury's almost willing to, even though it's a little bit of a fight going on, Neptune and some sign, like Poseidon's is pissed, you know what I mean? Like, hey, and Mercury, Hermes is kind of like, I'm the messenger. Like, you think you're a messenger and you just throw shade and you just throw all this water up and it's not really water. You know what I mean? Even though it is at the same time. It's kind of weird if you look in the old mythology. But I just want to say that this is the new moon of the year. I'm telling you, you're not going to see a cooler new moon. It's cool. It's shifting things. But it's only for your own environment. We are going to have a moon, a sun, a Venus, a Mercury, a north node there. It's a lot. And on top of that, here we have Uranus now, that just came to 8 degrees this week, right? So we've never seen Uranus here before since the 30s. I think it was like 1936. So I just want to say that we are having to reach the upper echelons of a better life. And this is the new moon to do it. And it's exciting. We also, at the same token, have a new moon trine Juno retrograde in Libra. This is about these amazing, beautiful partnerships. Although I think that there's some weird stuff going on here, because of the fact that the only weird thing I would say is this Jupiter-Pluto. This Jupiter-Pluto is really trying to, in a weird quincunx, even though it's not technically exact, but we're going to see it with Mercury after it. It is, though, to Vesta. I will say, though, that there is this Jupiter-Pluto that's just like, for a moment here, not in our world so extreme. And with Saturn retrograde in Trine, it's about Saturn in Aquarius. And this Aquarius energy is like, let's look at the whole entire picture, even though it might be hard. Let me look at my future. Neptune's trying to give this crazy spiritual, like either, delusional truth that you need to listen to, or the truth because you were willing to look at your delusions. And what were you trying to radically fix that you can't fix? That's one thing about Saturn. Saturn's like, I don't want you spending time in Gemini world where you have all this energy to move around and figure out your reality and figure out things and talk and, understand things on things about fixing things that duct tape can't fix. Things that, I'm sorry to say, if you think like, well, I can keep talking it out. It's like, why were you talking about it before? And with Venus retrograde, this whole relationship thing hasn't even begun its craziness yet. This is where it happens. Mercury passes Venus. Neptune's in square. And we're in a new moon. And this is a new moon in Gemini, activating Venus in the sign of Gemini. This is an activation. And it is major. And so this new moon is whether or not you're ready to be to the truth, that whether it's also your money, this is going to come up, but the things that you do to create, and you need to, especially it's the year of the rat in Chinese, you need to figure it out. you need to like put yourself in the best position that you can. And this is a Gemini energy that's like, hey, I'm working with Aquarius. We haven't seen this in so long. I mean, this is a moment of where there's a breath of fresh air only if you were able to deal with what? Your subconscious, sensitive issues, and also knowing that we are in a split collective. And where are you? Are you on the new paradigm or are you on the old? Are you going to still follow that old world or are you going to follow that new world? And that's the illusion, though, is that there's a world out there trying to show that it's new, that it's really the same tactics. And then there's a world that is new, and it seems like you're just using old tactics, but really it is new. That's the greatest contemplation that will be looked upon decades from now, hundreds of years from now. Now, for just a quick sec, the helio is quite interesting on this new moon. Remember, Venus is getting closer to actually Earth. Helio charts are dealing with the sun as the center of the chart. So imagine this as being the sun. So here's Venus in Scorpio at 24 degrees. Wow. And look at Venus in Scorpio is making great aspects to Pluto and to Saturn. Whoa. And Mars is about to conjunct Pluto and Saturn. Whew. I'm telling you folks that the craziness I'm talking about is coming. And that's why I'm saying using this new moon right before, look at Venus is connecting with Mars and Pluto and Saturn. We haven't seen Mars, and Mars is exalted. We got Jupiter here at 17 degrees. We got Venus, though, in its fall position, or detriment, sorry. But it's connecting with Pluto at least, so it adds some good energy to it. We got Mercury that just comes into Virgo, literally on the new moon day. Of course it does. Of course, how random and how unique is that if you understand helio-based astrology? I mean, you're seeing Mercury jump 4 degrees a day. You're seeing, like, it just keeps going around the sun. Never retrograde. So the fact that on the day of the most Gemini, mercurial vibe in tropic astrology from a geo point of view is exactly the day when Mercury comes into Virgo, like in actual helio of where it is around the sun's point of view, like bang. And here's the Earth, right, at 2 degrees here of Sag, because of course when you look out, boom, when you look out to the sun every day, it's Gemini in the background. And look at that Venus, there it is, approaching, about to pass Earth. That's why we're about to have a retrograde. Venus is about to pass Earth, and it's getting close, and before the pass, it's got to deal with all of this intense energy in Capricorn. And it's powerful. So this is a powerful time, because when Mars comes on top of that Pluto and Saturn, especially next week, holy moly, are we going to see the biggest changes on the planet? Intense. So use this energy now to figure this out. If we go to Saturday, it's just the Gemini story, but look at this. Venus comes off of, look at that, 19 degrees. Mercury, now 3 degrees away. So that's how fast Mercury just passes through Venus. Venus retrograde, though, is coming off of Neptune, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, you're cleared from looking at all your bullshit or not, and you chose your path if you're just going to stay on that split in the collective of the old or the new, and remember, which is on. And there is something to say about us seeing if you really understand and can see through, which is ironic that I did it that way, but if we do it this way, and if we actually did this, it would be the all-seeing eye, right? Looking down on the truth. But are you going to go follow? Are you going to be a follower? Are you going to be... One thing about Aquarius is, remember, Aquarius is either the follower or the innovator. And especially with Jupiter and Pluto and Capricorn, Saturn coming back into Capricorn, guess what? Like, there was even a thing, I think Craig brought up to me today about something about llamas, or what was it, llamas? Or what was it, sheep? Or I forgot. Oh, llamas. Producing antibodies. But I think that it's like, there's just it's this sheep thing. And the mind fuckery. This weekend is Mars, though, at 7 degrees, making that nice sextile to Uranus. Like, opening up crazy better doors in your life that are going to feel amazingly spiritual. These are major, major, major moments here for us, folks. We got the moon that's going to be with Venus. We will be able to see this. It'll be light, but we are going to see the moon finally come up right as the sun sets, and you'll see Venus, and it'll be so dimming, but you'll see that crescent moon, and it'll be very rare. So there's something about faded relationship things going on the most extreme that this new moon is hitting because of these major, major aspects that are happening here. I mean, they are major. To see this crescent moon come up after the sun with Venus right there as it's about to dip into the underworld, Mercury passing by. I mean, this is magical fate, and it's coming off of the square to Neptune. And the sun is coming off its trine to Saturn, meaning like, okay, I got your orders. I'm executing them for you or not. Sunday, the moon finishes in Sag, but it's going to make a quincunx here to Jupiter, Pluto. That's where we're going to feel it. And it's almost like at the end of this whole new moon cycle, at the end of this whole week, on Sunday, the big question, I think, is, especially with Mars here still in sextile to Uranus, which will be coming exact that night, and the sun now at 4 degrees, we're in a 4-year, 4-degree Gemini. There is something to say here about, with the moon on Rahu, now in Gemini, did you change your environment? And is this exciting, or did you just totally avoid it? And are you dull? And did you just go into these big beliefs and it just squandered you? There's something to say about South Node Sag where, you know, I'm going to do this, or even though you already know, I don't know how many times in my life I did things where I'm like, I already know this isn't going to go that way, but I'm going to see anyway, and then wait a whole night, no phone call. My buddies didn't call back. Nothing happened, and I was like, gosh, what did I do? I don't want you to do that as your whole life story. Your whole life story. Something to say too, and this day, this Sunday, Mercury will be at 24 degrees, and it'll actually be at 23 that morning. This is the degree in which Venus went retrograde in 2012 in May. I'm going to show that chart here at the end, but we have one thing to look at, which is Monday. Monday, moon's in Cancer now, okay? But Sunday, you get the truth. Did you come into the exciting new world? Did you make the changes? Did you just make the orders to the universe? Did you follow the message in a bottle, or did you just completely not? Mars will be with Uranus still in sextile, but the moon will be in Cancer now for the first time without the North Node there. Okay, so it's like, okay, we can go have these great comforts. We're going to see a great aspect to the moon and Uranus. But what's the big deal? Well, I would say that the big deal here is that when we take a look at things, Mercury is now going to be in quincunx over to Pluto. And so there's some truth there, and an uncomfortable truth, especially on the backside or the forward side, I would say, of these truths that were all shown to you very fast. And that's one thing. I'm probably going to be the only astrologer in the world that's going to tell you that these are the fastest changes to come into people's lives and offerings, and that it's okay. Most astrologers are going to say, well, this is retro, and that's retro, and that's this, and just keep holding in the same fucking line. I'm here to tell you that that's the old astrology, folks. Do your math and know the potency of this, and know the rarity of this, and know that this is not a typical Venus retrograde. It is not typical at all. It is not your standard Venus retrograde. It is way more potent, way more intense than you realize. And Mars and Uranus in sextile, and this is Mars in Pisces, the only time for us to come into magical stories by ending stories that are not magical and going into them with Uranus to take us up to the heavens. Uranus has never been this far at 8 degrees. And we have Jupiter, Pluto in retrograde to kind of, at least for the minute, okay, what else do you want to know inside that isn't the truth? Here is the answer. Oh, Saturn retrograde in Aquarius. Like, what do you want your future to be like? I know it's going to be difficult, but if you make the choice, I'll send you out there to the future and to a better space and more freedom and more excitement. Okay, here's all this truth in Gemini to help out with that with a new moon. But what I wanted to show you was, here is the chart, May 20th of 2012. This was when the new moon solar eclipse was with the South Node. And this was the change point in people's lives. Here's Venus at 23. It went retrograde at 24. Okay? So, this was crazy because just hours before that, there was a moon in Taurus. While the sun was coming into Gemini that day, the sun was in Taurus too. So the sun and moon were both in Taurus. This is the day that Facebook went public. I think it was the day before when the sun and the moon were in Taurus earlier. So it would have been May 19th, 2012. I'm predicting something weird with Facebook. Just to let you all know. Jupiter was at 24 degrees of Taurus. Mercury was at conjunction point with Taurus at the degrees of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction of 2000, which we're about to end that cycle here on December 21st, 2020. Jupiter was in an Earth sign. Jupiter was close to the exact degrees of, it's at 27 now, but you start to kind of put this stuff together and you start to go, what? And look, it was a North Node in Sag with Juno. It was Pluto here at 9, and what was Pluto doing? Squaring Uranus. Uranus was coming up towards the square. 2012 was the beginning of the Pluto-Uranus square. It was a crazy, radical frequency shift on the planet. Saturn was in Libra at 23 degrees, and that Saturn was in trine to Venus. Now we have a Venus retrograde to a square to Neptune. Now Neptune was at 3 degrees here. And so the new moon and the solar eclipse was square Neptune. Now we're dealing with a Venus retrograde square Neptune. So this is much more potent in the sense that at that time it was prepping us 8 years later for now. It was also in June, we saw the Venus eclipse that happened in front of the sun, and that would be the last one we would see in our lives unless we're all going to live another 120 years. So that was also the year in 2012 when Mars was in Virgo at 10 degrees here, but it had gone through its retrograde at the beginning of the year. We're on the backside of coming up to a Mars retrograde. That'll be in Aries. So, there's so many flips. Everything's flipped. So your life is about to take a flip. Okay? Fast. Just like it flipped here. And the weeks that followed, that changed your life. Guaranteed. I have not met one person that I have said, what happened with your life? In May, let's say May 20th through June, let's say 10th of 2012. And then they all look at me like, how the fuck do you know? I'm like, astrologers know, but I think not enough of them are putting this out there to people. Fucking insane, intense. Beautiful. If you understand it all and if you're willing to accept the truth. Chiron at 9, I forgot to mention that. That was in opposition to Mars. So it was like, gosh, I got to do this and this is what I got to let go of. How much hard let going was there in 2012? Jiminy Christmas. And then even 2013 when Neptune and Chiron started to come together in 2014, hardest losses of our life. So when, people start to say like right now is this hard loss and stuff, I go, do you remember 2013? Do you remember 2014 with Saturn and Scorpio and Neptune and Chiron conjunct? Like, come on. Hardest shit that we've ever gone through. This is not as hard. So if you're going to start putting all this shade on making a crazy change that's going to make your environment better, make your life better, make your positivity better, and set you into your truth for your life and to the ultimate future of your life and to the ultimate kind of people and tribe and the right side of the collective that's split, I don't know what else can do it. Because there is so much karmically happening right now. And if you believe in 2012, if you believe the Mayans were right, then I would look at this. And I think it's even funnier that on the day of the new moon, Mercury is at 0 of Virgo, which happens to be, from Earth's point of view at least, where Regulus is at. Now, and everything's in Gemini, and it's about Mercury. There's this new world that is here for people to just be in and make the change or not. I'm just overwhelmed. I'm excited as fuck. Because if I ran the cards of truth, guess what popped up? The 10 of clubs. And this is a great card, by the way. If you want to use tarot, it could be like the 10 of wands. It's like you reached the long road to success and now you can drop the weight. The sun's an 8 of diamonds. I mean, that is a card that can magnetically attract so many things into your world. The moon is in the only card that's for one birthday. No, sorry, that's Ace of Spades. But we have the moon at the King of Spades. Smart. We have Mars at the 3 of Hearts, the 3 of Cups. Trying to make this a fun place. We have the Ace of Clubs. That's like the Ace of Wands with Mercury. It's the time to figure out the environment of our life. We got Jupiter at the Queen of Clubs. That's like the Queen of Wands. we've got a lot of club energy. And then we got Venus here at that 10 of swords. Are we going to keep repeating the stupid patterns? Of course, when it's square Neptune. Of course. And the craziness of Saturn is 5 of clubs, which I am, which is the craziest, most curious situation. Are you going to be curious to the future that you really want, or are you going to say that you already understand it? Because I'm going to tell you right now, you're talking about 5 of fucking clubs, and guess where all the karmic shit's happening? It's happening in 5 of clubs, which means that you're either curious and you're ready to get to the truth, and you're the quest for truth, or you are the denier of truth, and that will hit you hard. And I just did this, and this is the last thing I'm going to show you right here. It's already all pulled up. This is some random site I found. We'll give them credit. Cardarium. I don't know. It was just kind of random, but I thought it was easy for people to see. 10 of clubs is like the card of fortune. Like many other club cards, it signifies financial success and material abundance. It involves lucky investments, unexpected inheritance, or just a wallet found on the street. In a nutshell, the 10 of clubs is a lucky omen for a financial gain that you do not expect. People are probably looking at this lately. Well, yeah, right. But these are some of the old, like the traditional French is the card of fortune, right? The American Rider-Waite, the oppression of fortune and success, which would be the 10 of wands, right? See? A man oppressed by the weight of the 10 staves, which he is carrying, a card of many significances. And some of the readings cannot be harmonized. Anyway, like this is the card that you would want to see in the cards of truth. And I like using the Rider-Waite understanding of it. And I'm somebody who is just trying to say, like, it is also fortune, gain, and any kind of success, and that it is the oppression of these things. It is also a card of false seeming, disguise, perfidy. The place which the figure is approaching may suffer from the rods that he carries. Success is done if the 9 of swords follows, and if it is a question of a lawsuit, there will be a certain loss. What I'm trying to say here, though, is like, are you in the card of false seeming that you're gonna gain success by how much weight you're carrying that you don't want to maybe carry and it's too much? Or are you finally to the place of your truth and you know, and you're just have cleaned your heart and you know your heart and it's not a heavy load right now and you made it and now you can drop everything and just get to the good stuff here? That's the big question. And it's a big question, and it's one of the most amazing spreads in a cards of truth that I would say. North node of 3 of diamonds, go build the great life. Ace of spades, which is the south node, which is this rare card, you know, but the king of spades actually is, which actually hit the moon there. But this ace of spades stuff, it's just like, stop. Go build the great life. The ecliptic is the 7 of hearts. This is an amazing moment where I know it seems dreamy. I know I seem more like I might be a more Neptunian vibe. Or go have fun in that other world right now. Go have fun. It's a fun world out there. And that's what I have to say. That this is no joke. This is very deeply connected to the Mayan and the calendar shift of 2012. This is deeply connected with the astrological aspects that are overwhelming with the nodes shifted, with the Venus retrograde. Same scenario, but with a new moon. It's not an eclipse, but it's entering eclipse season with a lunar eclipse that's following in 2 weeks. And this is all primed with positive aspects to Saturn with the sun and Venus, or so sun and moon, when Saturn was the one in positive aspect with Venus retrograde 8 years ago. And it was Neptune that was in square to the sun and the moon. Now we have Neptune in square to Venus, and now we have, you know, Saturn with the sun and moon. And back then it was Saturn with Venus, and it was Neptune square. So it's all flipped. I mean, it blows my fucking mind. This is the flip of the script. This is the flip of the coin. You were in tails, now you're in heads. Maybe you're in heads then and you're in tails. It depends on a little bit of your own story and of your own truth. And if you were one that did follow the light in 2012 and follow the message in the bottle then, this will be one of the greatest weeks that could move you into that best new world scenario or have fun in the other one. Make sure that you subscribe to highvibe.tv to get all of my daily videos that help you through every day. And of course, all the weekly different horoscopes that I do for all 12 zodiac signs. And I do weekly tarot, weekly intuitive. And Craig and I do full disclosure. And we do spiritual dance music, which of course we'll be doing on Friday for everyone. And we do it on the app. We do it everywhere. We do it on everywhere we can. Remember that every spiritual dance music is free on HiVibe. But we have also awesome other free content on there. But just go download the app and watch the content. All my lectures are there, all the tour videos, all these great things. And we send notifications, and we are having a blast on there. And we are having a blast on the website. And I just want to thank everybody for joining. There's been so many people that have joined and been part of this awesome, I don't even want to call it a community because I think it's bigger than that. We are all of the collective, and it's just a cool place where a lot of people of the collective are hanging out. And there's a lot of cool other ones. And I'm just happy that there's people that enjoy this vibe and enjoy having a good time and talking about the truth and astrology and spirituality in every aspect. And all the people that are on HiVibe, I thank them very much. Not only as viewers, but as members, but also the talent and the people that are on and the people that are behind the scenes that are part of it. Thank you all very much. Don't waste this one. When I say it in this voice, don't waste it, please. Please, because I'm just telling you, it ain't going to be this nice. For the rest of the year, it's going to be pretty crazy, so get it now. Later.